Someone's asking, why are people on Facebook saying 034 tuned S4s blow up? Well, that's a good question. We'd like to know that as well.
Yeah, we have a lot of tuned S4s. So.
Yeah, so we've seen this thread in one of the BA groups, and we've responded to it. We take the accusation or reality of our tune damaging someone's motor very seriously. We always have. What's happening is, the fastest cars are running 034 tunes, the world record cars, and then subsequent, cars are backing up the world record. And so we have a lot of people going really fast, pushing this platform really hard. And, people want to go the fastest, but at some point you start reaching limits. These cars, many of them are older and have worn components. So invariably, are people's engines failing with our tune? Yes. Were those people wearing shoes when the failures happened? Yes. Are people's shoes blowing up motors? No. So, there's some loose correlations being made, and I think a lot of it's just trolling. We are working hard to talk to anyone who's had an engine-related problem who run our tunes and evaluate their experience and what happened.
Yep.
We're finding that, so far, anyone that we've been able to speak to who has either reached out to us or we've heard and we've reached out to them have not had engine failures related to tuning.
Yeah, there's so many things. I mean, we're pushing almost double the power through these motors. It's your margin for error and what it can tolerate for aging components or any kind of outside the margins hardware. It just gets thinner and thinner the more power you make.
Yeah, I mean,
depending on just so many factors outside of our control. Well, there's wearables.
Yeah,
there's lots of unseen potential issues. No matter how well you maintain your car, no matter how meticulous you can be about things, there's stuff inside the manifolds, inside the motor. Intercooler cores have been known to come apart in these. You've got just a myriad of things that are not necessarily anything to do with maintenance, but it's something that you should probably start looking at as the motors age.
So I mean, there are factory B5 S4s that are having these failures.
B8
Does
S4s.
that? What did I say?
B5.
Oh, B8 S4s that are having these failures. Does that mean that the factory ECU tuning is causing those failures? Right. No. I mean, so there's just I don't know what the motivation is behind some of the people that are trying to stir this drama. Mm-hmm. There hasn't been anything of substance to show or connect us to that. The good news is a lot of people are running our tunes, and a lot of people are going really fast. And what we're starting to see, and we discussed this about a month ago.
And reliably going really fast.
Yeah, very reliably. Like going to the track and doing 10, 20, 30, 11s, low 11s pulls. That's impressive that you can do that.
And we were
with
there,
any car.
3 weeks ago. We were there. I think we did 20, 30 passes or 20 some passes just back to back to back to, with way higher launch RPMs and whatnot than most are running, just because we're doing a bunch of media for it. No hiccups, no issues at all.
And then the biggest issue that we're seeing that we'd like to address is that our tunes are sold with a certain set of modification and specifications, right? So our given stage tune has a set of required or recommended.
Yep.
They're not recommended; they're required products. But if we sell a tune that's for a 190 pulley and you run a 207 with a ported supercharger, you're going to make a lot more power. There's no question about it. But at some point, you're one, going outside the limits of what we've deemed safe, tested, and engineered, and two, you're going closer and closer to the limits of what the motor's capable of. We have customers putting down 450, 500 wheel. That's a 540 wheel. I mean, that's crazy on a stock motor that came from the factory with less than 350. So people are doing like more than double at the crank power. People are going to lift the heads. They're going to bend bones. It's starting to happen. So I would say for anyone out there who's concerned about tunes blowing up motors, when a tune blows up a motor, typically, almost always, the thing that happens is either the piston ringlands melt, or the valves melt or break, or you melt spark plugs. Right. So this is related to a less than optimal level of timing.
Yeah, it's usually
EGTs that are too high.
an advance issue, like an ignition advance, or
Sure.
or
Pre-detonation.
a fueling target issue where you're running the motor really lean for some reason deliberately. And then another thing a lot of people are chiming in on that don't really have a grasp of how these things work. I've seen people say if you have an upgraded throttle body, you don't have a rev limiter anymore. The engine can rev to the moon. That was coming up several times in some.
Why would that be?
There's assumptions. Yeah, there's assumptions that we turn off, or all the tuners turn off all the safeties and all the fail safes of the factory ECU, and I mean, we don't turn off any of them. So
in fact, we go through a lot of effort to ensure that they're updated and continue to be valid and functional for the new updated modifications.
Correct. To the point where people get frustrated with us because our tune might pop an EPC light more than some other tunes. That's because we keep those misfire checks.
But if that doesn't come on, then the safety feature's not working.
Right. So if you have a question about what safety nets are there, how we tune things, specifically, feel free to ask. You can also see it in all of our data. We offer open data logging solutions for all of our, anybody on our software. So yeah, no, all the safety measures are there. We do everything we can to keep these as robust and OEM-like tuned as possible. But there's just stuff that no ECU in the world could necessarily account for or take care of. And then there's other things where we'll get reports from people. It's like, yeah, my car's throwing an EPC light, and they're just like trying to drive through it, and they're continuing to hammer on the thing, or they're getting these misfires, and they're just continuing to try and like eke everything out of the car and just drive onto it through it. You got to step back and figure out the issue. There's something more going on that we need to we can help you address. We need to get the data around it. Take your time, step back, and we'll help you get it sorted out.
So I'll just finish with, if you see someone saying this, ask them for more information, because we'd certainly like to see it.
Yeah, another thing that's popping up was that our latest tunes are much more aggressive on fueling on 93, which is
they're not.
They're not. That fueling hasn't changed in years now.
Yeah. There's nothing in the fueling that needed to change.
No.
And I don't think there's no such thing as aggressive in tuning. I mean, there's certain kinds of risks you can take, which we don't ever take risks with our production tunes. If we were at an event trying to win a dyno, competition, we might get aggressive, whatever that means. But on a production tune, there's no such thing as aggressive. There's an optimized calibration that gets the most power with the least chance of failure.
Yeah.
And that's what we're always targeting. So anyways, ask for evidence. If someone says that, if someone claims they blew their motor on our tuning, please tell them to contact us, because we'd love to talk.
We have to date had zero correlation of
credible anything.
Yeah, of any of these motors that supposedly have gone on our software that actually links back to anything to do with any software, core software issue. And we've got thousands of people running the software, so it's.
But I think what we've seen in these threads is, nobody has been able to prove any or provide any substantive information on what supposedly happened or blew or whatever. And there are some guys out there that are pushing these tunes really hard that are experiencing various failures, and I think it's more just trolling, saying so and so had an engine failure and they were running your tuning, so your tune blows up motors, which is just not good logic at all. So
unless we have any information or even these cars are getting older. You've got to maintain and stay ahead of some stuff.
Yeah, I want to be careful though. We're never going to blame a bad tune on old cars.
No. It's more just any car that comes with the territory. It's a maintenance and
unfortunately though, so many other tuners use that excuse of, someone has a problem with the product and they say, oh, your car's old. That's
no,
not what we're doing.
There's no reason you can't run these.
That's
tunes
not what
on
we're
anything-
doing.
on these. It's more just a take a look and inspect some things. As these cars age, it's going to be a common thing.
And
to
there's
keep an eye
certainly
on.
we can do more to educate people on what to look for, but I don't care if your motor has 10,000 miles on it or 200,000 miles.
Right.
If the ringlands are melted and your valves break in half, that's not because of the motor's age. That's because you had too high of a combustion chamber, and the tune should have shut things down far before then.
Right.
And that's what our tuning will do to a degree, but you have to be within the specifications. So if you're running 3 extra pounds of boost than we engineered it for,
Right.
we it's going to run great and you'll make power, but we can't guarantee that's going to be as safe as something that we would release.
Yep.
So, it's I don't know. You could go buy a Ford Raptor. It doesn't mean you can jump it 30 feet in the air. And there's lots of videos online of people doing that.
It's the landing that gets you.
So just because you can do something doesn't mean that's what the thing was designed for. And we are very extremely confident that if someone buys our tune and they have all the right parts and they run it with all our specifications, it will be extremely fast, extremely reliable, and they will not have any of these type of failures, barring the potential OEM aging failure that is inevitably going to happen